Greetings to all viewers. I am Rajat Saxena, and today we have with us Kushal Jain, who was the part of the SURF program of the summer of 23. We will be asking him about his experiences and will also ask him for a few tips to applying for such programs. Before we begin, I will tell you a brief introduction about the SURF program. So, the LIGO lab at Caltech hosts a 10-week summer student program every year called as LIGO SURF. In order to support the upcoming LIGO-India project, LIGO hosts a few motivated and talented students from Indian institutions. And we have Kushal being one of them. So we will start by Kushal, can you please introduce yourself and what you're studying and where you're studying?
Sure. So, hi, my name is Kushal and I'm pursuing a B.Sc honors in physics at Ashoka University. I enjoy experimental and instrumentation based physics and astronomy. I'm currently working on my senior year thesis with Professor Shomak Rai Chaudhary and hoping to get into good graduate programs in astronomy. Apart from academics, I enjoy writing articles and fiction fantasy stories, and I also love hiking and rock climbing.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So you're in your final year, right?
I'm in a final year, yes.
Okay. Okay. Can you share some of your experiences of being a part of this SURF program?
Definitely. So I often tell my friends and family that surf is like the golden time of my life on both academic and personal fronts. And I think I would like to first share about the surf program in general and then narrow it down to LIGO Surf, which is a subset of surf. So the SFP, which is the Student Faculty Programs team at Caltech, manages surf. And I think over the past few years, they have mastered conducting these international programs. So your experience of flying in, working at Caltech, and then flying out is extremely smooth. Then Caltech is, of course, the hub of science and innovation. So working there it's like a dream. The smartest people surround you, and you're working on something that actually matters. That's in action at the time. So the network and friendships that you build over there they're just amazing, and you get to see people on your fields on all levels, starting from undergraduate to graduate, scientists, professors, and Nobel laureates, and it's eye opening to see people in your field on all those levels. So it gives you a sense of trajectory of your life in the field, how it would be if you continue in the field. So the SFP also organizes visits to this in nearby places, and they organizes dinners with the faculty, the student faculty dinners. So you get to talk to Caltech faculty often on one-on-one basis as well. So, and of course, like there are surf fellows working in literally all the fields, starting from quantum experiments, condensed matter, weather forecasting, geophysics, machine learning, and whatnot. So you get a very wholesome exposure to working on what kind of work is going on in different fields. They also hold sessions on to help you prepare for graduate school application. So the entire experience of working at Caltech is it's just beautiful, but it's also rigorous at the same time. I mean, you need to work on 4 reports while you are at Caltech, and towards the end, you also have to give a presentation. So either a poster or an oral presentation. But yeah, it's quite rigorous, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it. Now, talking about LIGO Surf, I mean, it's glorious, both the people and the labs. And if you go to the website of LIGO Surf, they call it an independent experience, an independent project that you work on. And believe me, when they say independent, they actually mean it. I mean, it's not like one of the uh, lab experiment or something like that that your advisor or guide is holding your hand and making you do so. It's something that you have to do it on your own. You have to figure out on your own. You have to navigate through the challenges. There are skills and techniques that you need, but you have not learned them before in your journey. So you have to read up on real scientific literature. You have to sort of try out more and more things. You have to communicate with your peers, get as many ideas as possible. You have to collaborate with people around that, if you can get some help. And of course, when you're doing a research, you you have to apply skills sometimes that you have not learned before. So that means you need to be able to quickly grasp things. And the LIGO surf programs, it gives you the perfect opportunity to build and develop all these skills. And most certainly it makes you a great communicator, because you get to talk to so many people. Some people, when they ask about your projects, maybe they have a minute or two. That means you have to compress your project information to a minute or two and then talk about it. Sometimes you have to talk to it, you have to talk to a whole public about 15 minutes, and then you have to give that sort of a speech. So it makes you a great communicator, how to articulate the information. So I mean, yeah, and on top of that, there's just a lot of benefits. They take you to LIGO. Of course, there's 40-meter lab at Caltech itself. It's a miniature version of the actual LIGO. It's a fully functioning, of course, and they take you to LIGO Hanford site as well. And yeah, so you go there, you see the entire LIGO in action. You get to talk to all the people who are working in the field. You get to talk to the director of LIGO, and they give you a whole sort of a tour of the place. They take you to the laser rooms and where the tubes are and all of that. So yeah, that's amazing. They also take you to uh, the Manhattan nuclear power plant site,
Yeah.
and that's amazing as well. It got more popular, I think, because of the Oppenheimer
Movie.
scene that recently happened.
Yeah.
When I was there, they also took us on a cruise dinner.
Okay.
Uh, yes, and you get to talk to, so of course, all the fellows are there who are your friends and all. And on top of that, there are the scientists and the directors and all the people involved with the LIGO site. So you get to talk to them, you get to have a dinner with them, and it's just a fun time with them. They also ask you to give a small, uh, a minute or two long presentation on your project. And I think the best part is uh, this overall experience when you are at the LIGO site. It's sort of, you're when you're at Caltech, you're working on a project, but when you go to the LIGO site, you actually see what you're contributing
Mhm.
to, or the project that you're working on, how it's gonna matter, what role is it gonna play. So it's one of the best motivation for you while you're doing this project. It's sort of, you get demotivated when you don't get results. You feel bad that you're not able to get something, but the moment you go to the site
Mm.
and you see, okay, my work is going to contribute to the field in this way. And when you come back to Caltech, or when you come back to campus, you have this certain new energy to work on something. And it's sort of, it just makes your entire journey perfect. So I would say that this entire LIGO Surf program, it's a window to how, it's a window to the life of a researcher. It gives you an idea of how a full-time researcher's life is.
Correct.
So I think, yeah, the overall experience, my experience of being a part of the surf program was glorious, and I still stand by my statement that it's a golden time of my life.
Yeah. So my next question is, what was the topic and theme of your project? If you could briefly tell the audience about that.
Sure. So as you know, that LIGO is a Michelson type interferometer.
Mm.
Uh, it uses fused silica as test masses, and it operates at room temperature currently with a 1 micron laser. The future upgrades of LIGO, which is the LIGO Voyager upgrade, they plan to operate it at cryogenic temperatures using a 1.5 or 2 micron laser. And for this upgrade, fused silica test masses are not the best choice. In fact, crystalline silicon promises to be a better choice. But being a crystal, it has bifringence, and
Mm.
bifringence can degrade the performance of your detector. So bifringence is something which is well measured for crystalline silicon. What other problem that we have discovered, or that we expect, is bifringence fluctuation. So because of thermal fluctuations in the environment, because of thermal fluctuations in the sample, in the test mass itself, the
Mm.
bifringence fluctuates.
Correct.
And this fluctuation of bifringence can cause degradation in the detector's performance. It can decrease the signal to noise ratio as well.
Mm.
So my project was to measure this bifringence fluctuation, and this was the world's first attempt at measuring Bifurcations fluctuations of a material.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. And who were
Yeah.
your guides for the project?
Oh, so my mentor was Yuta Mishimura. He's
Okay.
a Japanese scientist working at LIGO Caltech, and also Professor Rana Adhikari.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, great. So, can you explain the various stages of the surf application and how you actually went through them?
sure. So I think the surf application starts uh, with a general application round that you have. It has, you have to submit your research experience, your laboratory experience, your computational skills. You have to write a few essays on you as a person, you as a researcher, uh, and there is one essay also on. They give you a list of experiments happening at their place, and you have to comment on how or which projects you are interested in and why you are a good fit for them, and why should Caltech take you or why should LIGO take you for those projects. So there's a general application, and you have to submit your transcripts and all the relevant documents as well. Once you get selected, once you impress people through your application, the next step that comes is a questionnaire round.
Okay.
This is particularly challenging. They give you and it's quite innovative the way they conduct this questionnaire round. They give you three problems to work on. The trend that I realized was that one of them was computational, one of them was theoretical, and the other was had an experimental background related to it. So they give you these three problems, and they give you 48 hours to work on it. And in those 48 hours, you can use any help from professors, from your friends, from seniors, from graduates. You can even use the internet. But the problems are made such that you know the helps are of limited use. And I mean, like, you can only spend limited time taking help, because if you take too much help, then you won't have time to actually apply those whatever you have learned and write about it. So you have to balance your time, that how to learn and then write about those things. So that's the second round. And I remember not sleeping, not eating for those 48 hours. But I mean, yeah, it's worth it in the end. And then once you cross the uh, question around, you finally have an interview. It's usually the mentors and his graduate students who take your interview. The interview is it's a it's a very friendly interview, and it's quite technical. So you better be prepared for what they don't ask you about, specifically about LIGO, specifically about some random thing happening over there. They ask you about your projects. This interview is it's both technical and to know you as a person, and how you would be as a researcher at Caltech. So there's a 20 to 25-minute interview. For me, it went on to 40 minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, the interview is it's quite fun, and they ask you technical questions about the project, and they go in the depths of
Mm.
your project. They ask you even the simplest questions, that if you have worked on this experiment, you use a detector. Why did you use this particular detector? Why not some other detectors and stuff like that? So it's fun, but at the same time, you should know what you have done in your journey. You should be well aware. It's not something that you can just do and go for the interview. You have to be sort of well prepared for the interview, for the questions that could come.
Mm.
So this was the entire three stages. And once you get through them, I think 2 or 3 days after this interview, you get the blasting news. It's either you got in or you not got in, or you did not get in. But
Correct.
this is the whole stage.
Yeah. So all these three stages, how long does it take from stage one to stage three? Like months or weeks?
Ah, so it's not months for sure. I would say this all happens within uh, 4 to 5 weeks, maybe.
Okay.
The time from submitting your application, the first step, to the second step, which is your uh, questionnaire, that is a bit that takes usually more time, because
Right.
they get thousands of applications
Mm.
every year, and they have to shorten it down to send questionnaire to a few people. So that stage takes typically, I think, about 2 to 3 weeks.
Mm.
After this, or maybe 4 weeks, I'm not sure. I think it was 3 weeks for me.
Okay.
Then they have the uh, from questionnaire to interview is about, I think, 10 days.
Okay.
And then from interview, once you get for the interview, I think within the next 3 days they tell you.
Correct.
Mhm.
And if we say a student has not much experience doing research projects, what are
Mhm.
the odds of him or her getting selected for such a program?
I would say the odds are less in that case. It's not impossible. Uh, but given that the LIGO website is out there, and if you are, I would that was supposed to be one of my suggestions to everyone as well. That go through the LIGO website thoroughly, as thoroughly as possible, and they have well mentioned out what kind of projects they work on and what kind of skill set do they require from students. So once you're aware of the skills and the relevant experience that's required, you should start working on them. You should start building them up. Of course, you can't work on the exact same projects, but you can work on similar projects in the field. For example, my project at Caltech was to, like I said, was measuring birefringence and birefringence fluctuation. While I was at Ashoka, I also did a advanced independent optical lab in my university, and I worked on a similar experiment, working measuring birefringence of a liquid crystal. So it's the technique that we use are entirely different.
Correct,
Most of it do not overlap, but still you have some sort of relevance. That I've worked with birefringence, I know what the concept is, I know some techniques, I can figure out my way around it. So
correct,
I would say that because it's super competitive,
correct,
and it's if you don't have you don't need to work on the exact same topic that they have talked on, that they have mentioned on the website, but you should have some skill set or some experience that you can write about, and then you can express it. The major role that plays here is your SOP and how you express it in your
correct,
essays. That the experiences that I've gained, it may not be I did not have an experience which is like it's I did not have an experience which is perfect for this
correct,
project. I had experience in different fields, but the way you articulate them, the way you arrange them in your SOPs, that should make sense, that why you are a good fit for this program. And I think that's why their application is quite good, that they don't just ask you your laboratory and computational experiences, they also give you a chance to have a look at their projects and then see which one of them is a good fit for you, and they give you a chance to express why you think your experience is helpful for these projects.
correct,
So even though you may not have the perfect experience, even though you may not have worked on the exact same projects that they offer, but they give you enough options to connect your past experiences
correct.
with your future aspirations and their projects.
Okay,
So, I mean, overall, if you don't have any experience, then I would say your chances are honestly quite less. But if you have enough experience, not on the exact projects, but on some projects, then you can
correct,
articulate them through the application and make it a case that yes, I am eligible for this.
correct. Okay, so on average, like what kind of documents are required for these applications? So,
So I would say that your transcripts are required, your CV is required. Your CV, they don't directly ask you to upload a CV, but the CV is also in sort of a question answer form. They ask
mm,
you to list all your relevant experience. Uh, Apart from this, I don't think there are many documentation required at this stage. Of course,
mm,
once you get selected and once you're planning on flying to the US, then there is a whole bunch of documentation that you have to do
correct,
that takes up, I don't know, 2 3 weeks of your time. But in general, I would say that for applying for this program, there's not insane amount. It's a very a very general amount of documentation that they ask from you. For this application, there is no English requirement as well.
okay,
As far as I remember, at my time, you don't have to give an IELTS or something like this to prove your English efficiency or proficiency or something. So uh, yeah, I would say it's mostly your transcript that you have to submit as a documentation, and then everything else is included in the application package itself.
correct. Okay, so can you
Mhm.
give the viewers maybe guidelines or tips that we should follow for writing the SOP in general for such programs?
Definitely. So first of all, I would say that your first step should be going thoroughly over the website, over the program website. You should look at each and every project that they are working on, each and every line that is mentioned about them, because you never know which line or what information that they're given is actually. So of course, like, their program is going to be quite big, and they have
Mm,
to, when they're putting it on the website, they can't just put out everything, right? So they sort of
Mm.
compress it down and they make it concise and only give the most relevant information for you. And the people, they often give tips on what they expect from you. If you go to the LIGO website, they very clearly write what they expect in a good SOP and stuff like that. So I
Correct.
would say, if you don't go through the website properly, this is something that I often see in my juniors as well, that they hear about a program from someone and then they go to the application page and they start applying to the program and they start the application process. But that should not be the first step. The first step should be going thoroughly over the website. The website gives you a lot of tips of what people expect from you, of what makes a good application, of what they're looking for in an applicant. So that should be the first tip that I would give. Secondly, talking about the SOP or the essays that they ask you, is that my first and foremost advice is that do not submit it without getting a feedback, or without getting opinions or reviews from other people in the field. That's a The thing is that think we tend to believe that we know how to do an SOP, how to write a CV and stuff like that. But I would tell you honestly that the first SOP that I wrote, I sent it to one of my seniors, one of my senior friends, and it was about, I think, 700 words or something like that. And they selected 500 words of 700 and commented on it saying waste of real estate. So, I was so confident when I submitted my SOP, that when I gave my SOP to him, that, I've got it. I just know how to write it. And, I've looked through several websites and I just know it. And when I got an opinion of a, person in the field, I realized that no, this one is not going to make it. So getting reviews and feedback from people, that's a must. So
Mm.
these two advices are the top advices that I would give. Other than that, I would say that you need to uh, tailor it down to the specific program that you're applying for. You need to it should flow in a manner. And I mean, that's why I would say that using chat gpt for writing our whole SOP, it's not a great idea. I don't think chat gpt is a good SOP writer for a science program like these. uh, it sort of writes a very generic SOP, and it's not healthy. The people who review your application, they have gone through thousands of these SOPs, and the moment they see something generic, they know that it's not you, and you get rejected straight away. So you may use ChatGPT to make your English better, and get it a little bit in flow and all, but do not use ChatGPT to write your entire SOP for you. Then I would say that tailor it down to, it should express how you are as a person.
Mm.
Moreover, it should express how you are as a researcher, starting from what made you choose a subject that you are taking in the college. If you're taking physics, if you're taking chemistry as an undergraduate, why did you choose that subject? And you cannot emphasize too much on your high school. It's not relevant for them. It's not as important. So you need to be, your life is very haphazard. It's happening in all the way, and you're staying up till 2 o'clock and drinking chai at night and stuff like that. But your SOP should be in a flow. It should be very categorical. It should just seem like a flow. You should not just start by saying that I had this experimental sets, but then I became interested in astronomy and I have this experimental experience as well. No, it should be your entire experience with experimentation, then how you got introduced to astronomy, and how your passion has evolved to instrumentation in astronomy. It should flow in a manner. You need to be super selective. You have limited words to put in an SOP,
Mm.
and the person who's reading it on the other end, they have specific time and a specific focus. If you write too much and if it's boring, then no matter how good your other documentation is, your chances are already less now.
Yes, correct.
So you need to be very selective.
Mm.
You need to emphasize on the skills and experience that you have that actually matters. You have to, be very honest with yourself
Correct.
and read from the point of view of the reviewer, the mentors at Caltech, that this experience that I did in high school, if I was a part of an electronics club in high school, if I was something like that, does it actually matter? If
Correct.
you think it matters to the project, put it. If you think it may not matter, don't put it. The
Mm.
best advice I would give is that it's a very big topic on how to write an SOP, and there are many experts. So I do not claim to be an expert in the field, but because I have some experience, I think
Mm.
I can give this advice is that uh, when you're writing down your SOP, when you've written down the draft, read your entire SOP. And this is a trick that I use, which is that take a sentence or a paragraph or a phrase and see that if I put this particular phrase in someone else's application,
Mm.
would this phrase still apply? For
Okay.
example, if I say that this experience gave me a holistic, uh, this experience helped me develop knowledge and experimental skills. Now, this is a phrase that I can put in anyone's SOP and it's going to work out.
Correct.
If your SOP, if your statements have this sort of sentences,
Mm.
it's a red flag. You should remove it straight away,
Correct.
and you should write on something more. You should write on something that I learned how to use NumPy and SciPy for
Mm.
packages in Python. I learned how to use this particular technique of spectrophotometry or something like that in
Correct.
experimentation. So it should be specific. It should not be generic at all.
Mm.
And one last advice I would give on how to the most difficult part is how to start writing an SOP, and what to include and what to remove. You end up writing 4 pages some people, and it's not the best thing. I do that. I end up writing too much. So I would say that a good way of knowing what helped you most and what experience you have to put down
Mm.
is that make a sort of a table. On one end, put the relevant experiences that you have. For example, I can right now say that I worked on an advanced optical lab with the professor. I can put down my LIGO surf experience, and I can put down the few experiences that I have.
Mm.
In another column, write what you derived from those experiences. For
Correct.
example, what was your role in that experience, in experience, what you learned, the techniques that you learned, and the methods that you applied, the skills that you developed, be it computational or experimental, how you contributed to the project, what was your contribution, whether you were doing it in a team or whether whether you collaborated with the people, because that can also give a lot of information about you. If you have good collaborative skills, that's something that everyone is looking for. Put
Correct.
down your uh, the overall outcome
Mm.
of how it went and how it impacted you as a researcher, how it impacted your trajectory, and do it for all the uh, experiences that you have just noted down. Once you
Mm.
have that set of table with 6 7 relevant experiences, this will help you a lot in figuring out what how should you can club a few things together. Maybe you can, it gives you a better direction of how your SOP should flow, what should come first, what is more relevant, what should come last, what should not come at all. So all these are things you can get from this one table that you have now, and you can sort of expand on it as much as you want. You can make it concise as much as you want. So this one table, I would say, this one worksheet is quite helpful while writing an SOP.
Okay. So thank you for revealing your secrets on the SOP. So,
Yeah.
so I think with that, I think we'll get to the end of this talk. So I just
Mhm.
want to ask, how do you think that this entire program benefit you at the end?
Oh, uh, that's a yeah. So I would say this program has sort of helped shaping the trajectory of my academic life a lot. This has been one of the most impactful experiences that
Mm.
I've had, and I think, like, of course, there are multiple benefits, like, networking and confidence and communication skills and stuff like that. But those are very common. What I would like to talk about is essentially uh, two skills. I mean, I would say first is communication skill, of course, and the second is clarity. So being a part of this program, it has given me, I think, I have developed a lot of skills, soft skills in communication, because, like I said, that you have to talk to people. Sometimes they're there for like 1 or 2 minutes, so you have to
Correct.
convey the information within that time.
Mm.
Sometimes you have to give a presentation of 15-20 minutes, you have to talk about that much time. Sometimes people are actually very interested in the work that you're doing, your friends or someone, and they want to know more, and you end up talking for half an hour on your project. So you should have it sort of helped me develop that ability
Mm.
of how I want to convey an information, how much I want to convey, and like the entire this, it's a big skill. I
Mm.
would say that if someone is only, for example, if you're talking to the director of LIGO,
Mm.
they may not have 15 minutes or 20 minutes just for you. They have 30 other students waiting for them, right, to talk to them. When you're talking to them, you may have maximum of 2 or 3 minutes to convey what you're working on and how motivated you are and how excited you are about the project and how you find them inspiring and stuff. So within that 2 to 3 minutes, you have to. And if you start explaining the entire project or something like that, they may get bored of it.
Correct.
So you need to be selective. You need to be uh, you need to have that sense of what you should say given the time that you have, what's actually relevant over there. So I think I had that sort of this experience first of all helped me develop this communication skills massively. But more than that, I would say the most uh, the biggest benefit that I've got from this program is clarity.
Mm.
When you are when you're pursuing your studies, when you're doing your undergraduate studies, when you're just at your university college, you think that you like astronomy, you think that you like experimentation, you think that you like competition. But when you go out there, when you work in the field, you realize that this is not your cup of tea and it's not working out. I mean, it happened, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing to even to realize that something is not working out for you. It's a great benefit because you'll be soon applying to graduate schools if you continue to, or you'll be applying to jobs or something like that. If you apply to a graduate school for a program that you're not really interested in, for example, it happened with a lot of my friends that they came thinking that they enjoy competition, that they enjoy machine learning, but when they saw how this work is being put in action, like what the people who are actually in this field, what they do, or when they worked on an actual machine learning project themselves, they realize that they cannot sit in front of a computer for the rest of their life, and like this sort of work is not made for them.
Correct.
So this sort of an experiences, they give you an immense amount of clarity. They helped me a lot. When I came, I thought I love experimentation and instrumentation and projects like these. And this experience, it gave me a clarity that yes, I do enjoy it, and this is something that I can see myself doing for
Correct.
quite a good amount of time in my life.
Mm.
So the biggest benefit of this program for me is, I think I would say, it's clarity. Of course, it's friendships and networking and all, but the biggest one would be clarity for me, that I realized what I truly enjoy and what I'm capable of, what I need to develop. I realized that there may be some aspects of my capabilities that I need to still work on, but in an overall sense, I think the clarity that I got is uh, a profound sense of this program for me.
Okay, that was great. Uh, Thank you for taking out time and talking to us
No,
today.
definitely.
Yeah, and I think your guidance and your views will overall help the other applicants, provided that the applications are opening now, I think. So,
Yes.
with that, I would like to say thank you and bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.